Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of That Early Childhood Nerd. I'm Heather Burnt-Santy, and I've got a great group here to do another article discussion for this study hall series that we're doing. So Emma Tempest is on.
Hello.
And Bethany Corrie.
Hi.
And Dan Hodgins.
Hi there.
And as soon as Lizz Nolasco gets off her phone call, she's also going to join us. So you may not hear her here at the beginning, but hopefully she'll be on here soon. So we're going to do an article for this episode. It's an editorial that was published in the Early Childhood Education Journal. And it's written by, I don't have her name. Who's got her name? Mary Renck, I think.
That sounds right.
Is her name. I know the Jalongo is right, and I'll look it up while one of you are talking about something, and then I'll be able to see it. I didn't realize it wasn't on my printout. So anyway, this is an editorial, and it's called Why Cute is Still a Four-Letter Word. And I think we're going to have a good discussion. It was published in 1996, which seems like a long time ago. I found it again because Lisa Murphy references it in her newest book. And so I had to look her up and look this article up. And we were laughing before we started recording that it seems really weird that we're still fighting this same fight that she was writing about in 1996. So as a starter, she starts the article with just an explanation of or a description of an experience that she had as a speaker to a group of teachers. And she was having them work in small groups to come up with an idea. Oh, here comes Liz, to come up with an idea to,
Hello.
Hi Liz, I'm just doing the recap. You haven't missed much. And I told them all you were coming in. So anyway, the author was speaking to a group of teachers and had them working in small groups to try and come up with ways to help children with reading comprehension, I think, or it was finding the main idea, identifying the main idea of a story. And they came up with kind of a cutesy song that didn't actually outline the purpose of the story, the point of the story. So she was very disheartened by that, but didn't want to fight against this obvious enthusiasm for the cute idea. And it led her then to outline some reasons that we should stop doing stuff just because it's cute. Okay, is that a good summation, recap, intro? Anybody want to argue with
Perfect.
It or add to it?
I thought it was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I thought it was cute.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, you're all nice.
So just in that first section, is there anything that stood out to you before we actually get into her reasons for not doing cute things that you want to talk about?
Yes, the idea of, she states, cute ideas are enthusiastically endorsed by practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
She starts right out with that. And I keep wondering, and later on we're going to talk about this, I'm sure,
yeah.
Why is it still enthusiastically endorsed by practitioners? What is it that causes that kind of response?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that because like when I was young and in college and I was just an elementary education major, every time we would have an end of the semester project for one of my education-based classes, I would always make my binders the cutest things ever. I love doing collage. And so all of my, imagine children's literature, and every section I do like a beautiful collage, the little
Yes.
whatever, the little.
They can't see your gestures.
I know, but I'm doing gestures, so you know what I'm talking about. We need to air the video of this just for
Someday.
me. But I think that's why I had fun doing those things.
Yeah.
And not that even then I thought that was what you should be teaching in class, but it's just like crafts are fun for some women and maybe some men.
Sure.
I don't know.
I definitely think that's part of the appeal, is that some people's personality is just crafty or cute.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but when it seeps into then our efforts with young children, I think is where there can be an issue.
Yes. Yeah. And the fact that it's hard to sort when it is appropriate
Yeah.
and when it is not. It's not that crafts or cute might not be appropriate for some people by themselves, but then to endorse it as part of a practice with children is where she begins to indicate quite clearly, that it's not appropriate.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was the appeal of this article for me, is that she put into words the answer to, but it doesn't hurt anybody to do these crafts. They're fun and they're cute and it doesn't hurt anybody. And so, maybe there's not physical injury in that sense. It's not necessarily hurting anybody, but as we go through her points, we'll be able to explore more.
Yes.
What she sees and what I'll just say I agree with. In these kinds of practices, it reminded me, it connects to, in my Facebook timeline lately, I've been getting lots of ads, and the headline is like, "Be a teacher in Indiana," and the picture is like just this cutesy craftsy penguin loaded classroom door. So that's the pitch to be a teacher and to go do this degree program. I'm sure that it's advertising. And that speaks volumes for the audience they think they're bringing in.
Was there also like a green chalkboard in the background?
No, it's all hallway. It's like just the door and the hallway entrance to the classroom. There's no green chalkboard in these yet. Although there will be tonight, now that I've said it out loud in my home, it will show up in my Facebook feed. Okay, well, let's jump into the reasons that she gives, if that's okay with you all. So the first position she takes is that cute activities insult children's intellect. Right out of the gate, I was in love with this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it just reminds me of all the representations that, quote unquote representations, right? These, we're learning about spiders, so let's outline 8 fingers and make a spider and learn nothing about spiders.
And stick pretzels into our Oreos for snack time to be spiders.
And learn about spiders.
Yeah.
I think it's that thing of, like, having a playful way to learn something so that they can say they're not using a worksheet, but still not actually learning anything.
Yeah. We got to let Dan in. He's tried twice now. Hold on.
No, that's okay. It's just that I love the Sandy Malcolm's microwave easy statement that she makes as part of that, because I think that's part of the whole idea of why cute is so popular. It is easy to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to think a whole lot about it.
Yeah. And so, that's in the article. She quotes one of her colleagues who says that part of the appeal is that it's microwave easy. And I think it's easy to come up with the ideas, and it's easy to go to Pinterest and find ideas that fit your theme, but you end up doing a lot of work cutting out pieces and getting it all together and trying to control the group. So it's like sort of easier, but actually in practice, maybe not.
Yeah.
Right. But the motivation frequently is, I keep thinking of the things that people will put on ads, and for cooking, for example, I think, oh, that looks easy. And then when I do it, I think, oh my God, this is taking forever.
Yeah. We just had one of those conversations before I came in here, because Steve found an Instant Pot chicken and dumplings recipe. Promised to be easy and is like 4 hours of work.
Right.
I think the other thing that the point she makes a few times is that that the teacher is just facilitating, and she keeps calling it like busy work, or keeping little hands busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just coming up with things to fill the time, instead of focusing on what's important in that time with the children that you're with.
Mm-hmm.
Or using adult representations of learning instead of children's actual learning.
Ooh, what do you mean?
So if you're seeing, children coloring a calendar so that their parents can come pick up their 3-year-olds that day and say, oh, look, you learned that this is April. And the parent sees a calendar and all the numbers in the month. And
so it connects to what we as adults equate with learning.
Because if you took taking the time to point out the evidence that the children have brought for their learning is a lot more difficult. And it's not something that if parents don't know that learning doesn't happen on a worksheet, then you have to explain why this is learning, so it's that microwave easy.
I'm not sure that she was strong enough on this point. When she says that cute activities insult, I think it's more than insult. I think it prevents children's intellect.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Where and I agree that it does insult, but I'm not sure it was strong enough for me. Because I think it stops children's intellectual from moving forward.
Yeah. So the woman who called it microwave easy is also quoted in this article as saying we need to continually ask, or maybe this is the author's question, what are children really learning here? And without that question, it is possibly teaching them the wrong things. And I think that comes up in a later point, or teaching them incorrect things. But it also just assumes, well, they can't really learn anything, so let's just fill this time, or they're not ready for real learning, so let's do this pre-learning.
And that is a waste of time.
Yeah, everybody's time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just butt in here for a minute and say I Googled it, and the author's name is Mary Renck Jalongo. I had her backwards, but that's who wrote this. She also has she's co-authored a textbook about a new approach to early childhood education that I have also bought now, so I can see. So when I eventually take over somewhere in an early childhood department, I can have this textbook in my pocket. Sorry.
Humane Education, right?
What?
That name is super familiar, and I think it's Humane. Is she Humane Education?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, this is Mary. Yeah, Mary Renck Jalongo, Teaching Compassion. Yes.
Oh, excellent! Another book to add to my list. Really good. As I just made another no new book resolution. We'll see how long that goes. Okay, so point number 2 that she makes is kind of, Dan, I think what you were saying, or what you were touching on, but cute activities mistake doing with learning. So we feel like we have to make the children do something to show that we're teachers. And we figure as long as they're busy and as long as they're churning out a product, we're doing our job.
I don't want to get too far off, but I've been kind of fed up with the idea that everything has to imply that there is learning involved. And I know that that's not the subject that she really was pointing out, and I agree that it is mistaking with learning, but the idea that you have to teach a concept is often assimilated with the idea of cute, because you go through the process of cutting stuff out, coloring stuff, looking at numbers. She gives some examples of that, and I'm thinking, so people believe that they're teaching, so therefore it must be all right. And I think that's part of the whole idea of the mistake of cute, is that it is not often, it's often associated with the idea that they have to learn something.
I think it falls into the same kind of, this aspect of it maybe falls into this topic that's come up in the last several podcast episodes about when we try to separate the learning from the caring, and the mistake that is. And when we don't acknowledge that the caring parts of our job are as or more important than the cute activities that we're doing. and are actually teaching children more by the way we handle that caring aspect than the stuff we have written on the lesson plan form sometimes.
I think it's important to clarify who's doing the caring and the teaching and the learning, because the children are doing the learning, right? And the teachers are doing the caring and, in theory, teaching, which might possibly relate to what the children are learning, hopefully. But I think that if we divide the focus that way to caring and learning, it's actually a different conversation than the conversation distinguishing caring and teaching. Does that make sense?
Say more.
That's about as far as my brain's gotten, but I'll just keep talking and hope it keeps going.
I
think it's just I think it's taking the power away from the children as we keep talking about learning as something we do to them.
And yeah, so I think I know what you mean, that it's another sort of power imbalance. And if we can think about what children are actually learning and that they are capable learners, and really try to understand how that process happens for children, then it levels that field a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Does every experience have to be a learning experience?
I don't think every experience has to be planned out, intended, but I think children learn something from every experience. Whether not necessarily an academic thing, but I think they learn something about relationships or their selves or their bodies or the space they're in or people's attitudes about them. I mean, I think there's always an element.
I think it's like when you have the adult going in and stamping that they've learned something.
Yeah.
So having that product, they can go, oh, look, parents, this is what they learned today. And like Dan's saying, you don't have to, everything doesn't have to have a teachable moment. It can just be something that's happening. But I like the bit in the article where they talked about how the question was, how can a teacher tell if she or he is doing not a great job but an okay job? And how the don't make waves category of people were saying, we don't want complaints from parents, we don't want complaints from admin, but then at the same time, the teacher who took on the system and defended the rights of the children and families, a person who worked diligently, all those things are what make teachers great. But I totally understand how teachers get stuck in between, because if you have this little voice in the back of your head saying, I've got to prove that I'm doing my job, then you might cave into doing things that have a stamp of, look, I taught something, look, they learned something.
Well, and the last sentence, she says, yet doing something maintains the illusion that teachers are rising above ho-hum teaching, even though they have not. Like, it's all just...
It's playing teacher. It's not...
Right.
Yes.
It's not being with children.
And that's what, I mean, you can even say, like, that's what the principals are expecting. Like, they're expecting all of their employees to play teacher and to have a nice school. And they're doing that because their bosses in the, school district, whatever, are expecting that each of these schools are going to be led under a principal who has control over his teachers, who have control over their classrooms.
Can we talk about this cute activities mistake doing with learning in the context of our current pandemic e-learning, activity take-home bags, viral teacher video life?
We can't, no.
Dan's gonna shut up and let Dan talk about it.
I'm gonna tell you, I am so fed up with this.
Me too.
Because there are 3 ingredients that I use as relevant to children. And one is that has to be real. And the approach that we're using now, using lots of opportunities online, et cetera, is never going to be real for children. And then it has to be relevant. And so people are doing teacher-directed experiences frequently. I'm not critiquing that people aren't wanting to do something worthy. I'm not critiquing that. It's the approach that is bothering me. You know, when we have 1,000 stories being written and told, I'm thinking children want to show you their nose. They want to flush the toilet several times. You know, that's relevant. And then hooked to an emotion is my third one. And I'm thinking, how are those three connected with the approach that we are doing with children during this period of time? Is we've somehow forgotten it. And things are leaning itself towards more teacher and adult initiated experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I did I have been doing like some FaceTime calls with my preschoolers, and it's, you know, just the ones who want to, and it's all them just carrying their phone around and showing me things in their house. And one little guy, he has a pool in his backyard, like a real big, like a nice pool. And he was just laying on his stomach with his back to me, showing me how he could fill up his squirt gun from the pool. And his mom was bringing me worksheets and saying, look, we really are doing these kinds of things. And I was trying to reassure her that him showing me how he fills up his squirt gun is just what I'm calling for. Like,
way more important.
Yeah, but she felt so pressured to show me that other things were happening too.
And I think,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, like, from the parents' perspective, it's just that, like, they're feeling we did something.
Yeah.
Like, I accomplished this, so I'm not failing. Because you've got all that pressure of, like, oh, God, nobody else is teaching them. Now it's my job. Like, so we're just feeding into that worry of, I've got to be doing something. So it looks like I'm actually doing something, even though it's all just bullshit and we're crying at the end of the day.
And crying. It's all bullshit and crying.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% willing to believe that it all comes from a place of good intentions. But I am also willing to challenge people to think it through a little bit.
Absolutely.
Really ask, what am I really learning? Is this really necessary? Or is this an extra stressor in a really stressful time?
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
go
ahead,
ahead.
Dan.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say.
Somebody's going to talk. Bethany, talk. Dan, don't forget.
One of my families, the mom's a kindergarten teacher, and she's not in school with her kids, and her son's in kindergarten. And it has 5 note folders that come home. They get them on Friday, and it's for every day with lesson plans written out. And finally, she sent the teacher an email, and she's like, listen, I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I can't get through this with my son. Like, something's got to stop, because
Too much.
if I can't do it and it's my job, then how's everybody else trying to deal with it?
Yeah.
And I was pretty proud of her for that. But
that's awesome.
You know, they just had less worksheets sent home. That was the
result.
The teacher's compromise, but still.
Oh gosh. All right, Dan, it's your turn.
People are going to be upset, but I'm used to this.
Okay.
Taking bags every week with scissors, glue, paper. What happened to the loose parts component that we were so strongly supporting? How has that got to do with glue and paper and scissor crap? Part of it is helping parents, and I agree with you that they are concerned. They want to be the teacher. They're ignoring, they feel like they are ignoring the child if they don't do something. But part of it is just helping parents and guardians realize that letting children play involved with the natural ingredients that they have around their house in the backyard is the learning process.
Yeah. And it can also be cute if you look hard enough.
Absolutely. Yes.
But I think it's because I had like several thoughts go through my mind when you said this, Dan. Not because I was actually mad, but I was thinking, okay, if I was mad about what you were saying. So if I'm thinking, okay, the parents are going to take these activities that I'm sending home and do them with their kids. Like, it's time that they get to spend together, right? But like, you're just probably going to end up fighting during the whole thing. If I ever try to do anything with my daycare kids where it's like a craptivity, I just yell at them and yell at myself for yelling and start crying and apologize for being in such a bad mood.
And it's bullshit and crying all over again.
And it's bullshit and crying all over again. And then but then if I don't try to do that, it's usually around Christmas when I feel peer pressured to make a present for the parents with the kids. Mm-hmm. To me, make a present that I'm pretending that the kids made for the parents. But then
your secret is out.
I know, it's no secret. I admit it all. But you know, if we were advocating for, if the teachers were saying, spend 5 minutes with your kid just reading with them, like that's a more meaningful interaction than trying to cut out a butterfly cocoon and a leaf to paste onto a piece of green paper. Like,
I agree. Why are we sending the bags home then?
So why are we sending them home?
Send a book home. Were you going to say something, Emma?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the start of the article when it said about how when you succumb to peer pressure to do these kinds of activities, right now in the corona crazy that's happening, parents are feeling like that.
Yeah.
I've seen play-based educators online asking for activities to do, and I'm like, what? You know better than this. Like, what are you doing? And I get it. It's that pressure. And I mean, I wrote down in my notes, some of the reasons could be inexperience, desperation to find an alternative. And then they said about being powerless. Mm-hmm. So if we as the play-based advocates, if we're not the people saying these things to parents, then parents are not going to be able to overcome any of those things because they are going to feel powerless and have no experience and be desperate. And then that links back to I know we're kind of skipping ahead to point 5 right now, but about the equity in education.
Damn it, Emma.
Sorry. What Dan's saying about sending things home made me think, because if people don't have scissors at home, then that's a great thing to send home. But it's the intention with why you're sending those things home. And if we are wanting to talk about loose parts and to talk about child-led investigations and projects and reading and all those things that we know are more powerful, if we're not the ones saying it, then people are going to succumb to cute things.
Right. And if we suddenly cave because one circumstance or two circumstances have changed, even though it's a big circumstance, then what message is that sending about our belief and our position?
Yes.
What was?
In the realm of equity, I think so much of this, though, especially with these play-based people talking about the, I know, messed it all up, sorry.
That's okay. I knew it would happen.
Tried.
So hold on, we'll jump around. The 5th one is cute activities frequently undermine educational equity. Okay, go Liz.
Thank you. I think so much of this is an equity issue on both sides, right? There are kids who are supposed to be engaging in this e-learning who don't have an internet connection. And there are teachers at private facilities who don't receive any funding apart from parental tuition, who need to show the parents and do performatively for the parents in an effort to say, look, we're valuable, really, truly, we're educators, we're doing the thing.
Yeah.
And it's
so equity with the children, families, and with the teachers, I think, becomes an issue. And the example that she gives for the equity piece is like a special teddy bear day, and whoever came to school with the most teddy bear things about them won some kind of incentive. And so she's talking about, well, what about the people who can't just go out and buy a bunch of teddy bear stuff, or the mom who's just trying to pay rent and doesn't have the mental energy to spend helping her child win a meaningless teddy bear contest at school. And then those children, and I was that child growing up, like I didn't have any of that stuff, any of those special day things. I never had anything, and I know how it feels on that side of it too. So yes, now in the pandemic, equity issues are really coming to the forefront, but they're always there. And these cutesy kinds of things, I think, really do shine a spotlight on that.
What the hell is a teddy bear day?
It literally, you just wear teddy bears. How 1990s is this? I feel like this example really dated the article.
Yes. Yes.
People don't do teddy bears anymore.
Now it's unicorns.
Unicorns probably. Well, and even like the 100 day of school, bring 100 things kind of stuff.
Yes.
I think
yes.
It's not teaching them about the concept of 100 because their parents are counting all that shit out before they send them. And and especially with social media now, it's a parent contest for who can post the weirdest picture, and also it's ageist because kids go to school dressed up like old people.
Yes.
So anyway, I don't like 100 day of school things, I guess is what I'm saying with that.
Well, it's another like made up thing for adults to be able to put their cute ideas into. Like it's the same as like bulletin boards and craptivities. Like it's for the adult to have fun doing it. Yes, Emma.
Bethany's running the show now.
It didn't have to be another podcast, but what is your obsession with like Spirit Week?
As a country, you mean, or my personal obsession?
Your person.
You're obsessed with Spirit Week?
Like, I do not. England does not do that. Like we'll have like charity days in school, like fun for a fundraising idea, and even then there's an equity issue. But Spirit Week, like I did it once. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And I was a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only hope was that it would be like something that my oldest brother's letter sweater would work for. That was like my only piece of spirit item. And
for saving grace.
And that was very limited what it would go to. But yeah, I didn't even think about Spirit Week in terms of this. And I think holiday stuff too, the cute holiday celebrations falls into this equity category. Dan, say something.
I am.
I heard a deep sigh.
Because, somebody the other, just before this all happened, had a pajama day. It's really, really popular to have a pajama day. And I'm thinking, I don't wear pajamas, nor do I want to wear pajamas.
Same.
Our department did a pajama day, work from home, and I was like, I can't send you that picture.
Right. I'm thinking, how is this real? I mean, I don't walk around in my pajamas, even though I know some people do now. It just doesn't make sense to me to have those. Again, they're adult-orientated opportunities. I've never heard a child ask me, can I wear, and if they did, I'd say sure, but I've not had a child ask me, could I wear my pajamas to school or whatever.
I will say, the kids in my program, well, it's one child in particular, she always asks for pajama day, which I told her she can wear pajamas to my house any day, and that's fine.
And that's
I told her mom, and
Right.
I told her mom that, and it's funny because, so she'll come in her pajamas and slippers with like a little plastic bag of clothes if she wants to change into them.
Yeah.
Her brother comes in clothes with his pajamas in a bag if he wants to
he
change
wants to
into them. The baby doesn't come in pajamas because I never remember to tell her mom. And I usually forget to tell the other family.
Yeah.
And so
it's just a hodgepodge. It's hodgepodge day.
The one kid in
at
pajamas.
Bethany's. Yes. Well, now that we're all picturing each other naked.
Liz, what do you wear to bed?
Let's do number 3. We'll go back to number 3 now, which I don't think we've done this one. If we have, just tell me. Cute activities often miseducate. And again, I think we've kind of touched on that. Sorry, I really brought it down. I think we've kind of touched on that in a couple of our conversations. The example she gives in here is like a pen pal kind of situation where there's a picture of and it's supposed to be an Indian girl,
Indian princess.
an Indian princess that they're all going to write letters to and be pen pals, but really it's a picture of a girl who's maybe Korean, and the school secretary writes all the letters, and there's no pen pal situation at all.
To be super clear, since the article is from 1996, this is Native American Indian.
Yes.
supposedly.
Yeah. There's some of her examples are wild, and I don't even want to get into them because they are very 1996. And I
Yeah.
hope that at least we've moved past those bits. But
you know what? I
but
don't
this
think
I
so.
could see happening
Coming from
in
the
places
South.
I have worked.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that they miseducate. What else can we say about that?
The idea, she talks about the romanticized view of childhood as being part of that. Does that mean that, and I still think it happens today, where we have this idea of what we hope the world would look like.
Yeah.
And so we create an illusion frequently for children rather than, a reality component. And I think that cuteness, whatever, it creates that romantic view, just like, oh God, I'm going to really hear this one, but Frozen, other kinds of crap that romanticizes the view of what the world should look like. And we've created a market today for all of these kinds of components that to me are not real or relevant.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying about your three things. It has to be real, relevant, and what was your third one, Dan?
Hook to an emotion.
Hook to an emotion. I was trying to think if you presented those three things to this situation. I'm trying to imagine the prevarications the teacher would do to try and make it fit.
Yeah.
Those three things.
They're going to bring somebody in dressed like
to make it real.
To make it real, yeah.
Yeah. And even if your goal is to use functional writing or to be friends or to teach about other places in the world, are those things relevant to the children in your group? Maybe for some. But there are certainly better ways to do it and more effective ways to do it than to set up a fake pen pal system when no one, again, 96, maybe there were in the mail pen pals, but now we're not mailing letters and kids aren't seeing people write letters and get them and put them in the mail.
Plus, to understand the world, you have to understand your backyard first. So the concept, the miseducation component of this is not only an equity issue, it's also not appropriate in terms of where we understand children's learning concepts.
I tried to come up with ideas that were not being pen pals with the Indian princess. Because just a lot of, through the whole article, the examples were quite interesting.
Right.
But I was thinking about...
I think rampantly racist is what you mean.
I do.
Most of the examples of the activities she's describing.
Thank you. But I was thinking just like the handprint crafts, like handprint butterfly, footprint. I don't know. I don't even know what they are, so I can't make them up. Yeah. All I can think of was the butt cheek pumpkin with the babies.
That miseducates.
Where you dip their butts in, but it's like, what? What if a child thought that his hand turned into a butterfly or so? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like these absolutely wild things, which I'm fine with. I'm calling myself out. I'm fine if you've got to do a handprint.
I want to know what you're fine with. Come on.
I'm fine with if you need to do a Christmas ornament handprint or one where you're like,
no, I'm not fine with that.
Well, this is about Bethany now,
Dan.
This
is about Bethany. I'm coming from a background as a nanny, and if I asked my nanny kid, do you want to do, like, I saw this and I thought mom would think it was cute, and if she said yes, I'd do it.
Use the C word.
Yeah, I don't care. I've already called myself out about the cute shit. Like,
I think for me, it's different when it's like a period of time. Like if it's like significant. This is how small my hand was when I was this old.
and
it
I
doesn't have to come with a poem. It doesn't have to come with
yeah.
a thing that the adult did. If it can be something that a mum is going to keep and it's meaningful and relevant and it's real.
I have a Christmas ornament from 1986, and I was born in August of 1985. So let's do the math there. I did not make this ornament, but I have it now on my Christmas tree, and like it's got a piece of masking tape. This is Bethany, Christmas 1986, and
it doesn't make it appropriate.
We'll do a whole other
Not
episode
all.
about
Does
consent.
not make it appropriate.
It's not my butt print, but I'm just saying.
You make all the butt prints you want, Bethany, of your own butt.
I will, and send them to you on ornaments. Dan.
Oh, great. That's good. I need something ornament.
It's gonna be a big ornament.
That's awesome. I have a hearth. I have a mantle. So I'm ready for that.
So big.
Yeah. So to bring it back a little bit, I was trying, because we're at naked again for some reason.
It's because Bethany's on the podcast.
So I was trying to think of for other examples of cute things that don't teach what you really think they're teaching or what you're saying they're teaching. And were there other examples besides this pen pal story that?
I think the next section about like using gimmicks and tricks to disguise play as learning, like the whole dinosaur thing.
Oh, okay. So let's do this. The next one is cute activities undermine professionalism. And the example that she gets is the teacher wanted to teach children how to be archaeologists. And a student teacher imagined they would be unearthing items in the sandbox and categorizing and labeling them. But instead, the activity was to give each child a chocolate chip cookie and a toothpick and direct them to excavate the chocolate chips.
My dream. I want to be a chocolate chip
I will excavate all the chocolate chips.
Yes.
And learn nothing.
I've just had a thought that one day, Bethany, your butt print to Dan could be dug up by an archaeologist.
So make sure you label it and include documentation.
I will
with it before you put it in the thing. But this is a good example of miseducation, and I think saying that's undermining the teacher's professionalism will probably hurt some feelings or raise some defenses. But you could be doing so much more deeper work. There's my words.
The word gimmick was
picks or digging chocolate chips out of a cookie and calling that archaeology.
The word gimmick here.
Oh, hold on, Liz. Gimmick, say it.
Go, Liz.
It's highlighted and boxed in my copy, so I really need to get this out. So the teacher was deluded into thinking that adding a gimmick here and there had magically transformed her into a creative teacher. I think just this idea of gimmicks that look like play to the untrained adult eye is so huge and it's so obvious in these transitions from ultra teacher directed to they're learning what play base looks like, but not there. And just the word gimmick just set off so much as a descriptor. I think it was just brilliant.
And I think the uneven qualifications and the uneven teacher preparation and knowledge and skill and experience contributes to the popularity of cute things, because it is easier for a brand new teacher who's just in survival mode to find a craft and do it than who hasn't learned to think differently about things, hasn't ever been presented with the things that we're all, having fun with now. But there is that reality and the constant turnover in the field. There's always someone new coming into your classroom.
Yes.
So I definitely understand that side of it. I just would challenge people to think past it. If that's where you are and that's how you're surviving, that's one thing. But if that's where you are and that's where you've been for years and you're not willing to reflect a little bit, that's where my challenge would come.
Heather, someone did an evaluation of the types of workshops being presented at a national conference, which draws huge numbers of people. 75% of the workshops at that national conference are make it, take it, those kinds of real simple, cutesy experiences, and they are jam-packed.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That was another thing that I thought as I was reading this was go to any conference, either vendor hall or read their program of workshop titles, and you'll see that this idea of cute things has.
So does that mean that the people who are putting on the conference has a responsibility to look at what is justified as professionalism?
I think so. I vote
I
yes.
think so too. Yeah.
That motion.
Emma seconds. All right. Motion carries.
So what's happening still today is the idea of how we motivate and support professionalism is still in that 1990s component. We're still doing some of the same kinds of approaches to enhance someone's professional growth. And I think it's time, it's been way past time that we change that into taking a careful look at what we're providing in the exhibit halls, what we're providing at college education classes, etc., that support and enhance what real learning is all about.
Yeah, I think the last time I looked at a conference program, my words aren't working. It was either super academic inappropriate or super cute inappropriate, and there was very little in the middle, or you know, in what I would call really developmentally appropriate, if we're talking about what we know about development and individualizing and appropriate things to expect from children this age. Those
Who was the one that, I'm sorry, I don't have the article in front of me. Who said that creative teaching is an inside-out operation?
Oh, I don't know.
It was in that. It was in that. It was. Oh, yeah. And I like that. I like us to think about that concept.
Oh, I
what
see
does
it now,
inside-out operation mean?
Well, what do you think it means, Dan?
I'm thinking that it has to come from the child.
Just
first.
tell us the answer, Dan.
It has to come from the child first.
I do, and I highlighted just a couple sentences later, something creative has to be going on in the child's mind during a creative activity. So you can say that this is a creative activity, but if it's not in the child, then it doesn't have that value.
So you're saying that the Reggio-inspired beautiful provocation play-based Pinterest board that I've made is maybe less creative than I thought it was?
Sorry, Liz, for the vomit face. You have to give us a warning like Bethany does.
Oh. I've never been told to do something like Bethany before. Hold on.
Yeah, no. I'll let you answer that, Liz.
I assumed the no was implied, but go ahead and yell if you'd like.
Yeah. So Lisa Murphy and I are planning to do this Meet the Masters trivia show for the Play Empowers Quarantine Conference, where we're going to do like theory and trivia and Masters trivia. And I found a great quote about Reggio, like the teachers in Reggio saying, "This can't be done just everywhere." in the middle of, as I was finding my Reggio inspired trivia questions, I was like, oh, they don't put that one on their billboards. And they're beautiful baskets. Sorry.
Yes. So I think the aspect of cute again goes back to, is this initiated by the child? Is it child directed? Is it child controlled? Frequently, cute is not something that's suggested by a child.
Yeah.
It's directed and initiated by the adult, which creates, because I'm thinking there needed to be a 6 and a 7 here, because she didn't talk about the initiation directly from the child component as it relates to being cute.
Yeah. I think there's definitely, as we've kind of touched on in a couple other spots of the conversation, a power element where it's these cute things are done to children for the benefit of the adult. And we've just become really skilled at changing the way we talk about it to make it sound like it's benefiting the children. But really, mostly it's benefiting.
Well, yeah. I mean, she even
adults.
says that teachers should exploit children's naivete. Like,
Yeah.
we're just, I mean, like, that's just calling you out right there.
That one's for you, Bethany.
That one's for me. I don't do all of the crap that I think I admitted to
I know.
on a daily basis.
I know.
I think it sums it up
yeah, that was
nicely.
powerful.
She says about how if you're in the way, if early childhood educators are in the way of what's really going on, that's when you can kind of tell. If
Where did I write that?
Yep, that's in here. I'm looking for it.
Right.
I wrote little notes.
In number 5, it says you are always in the middle,
but not
Never in the way. Yeah, that was how someone described
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Such a good one.
Yeah.
I
think-
question whether or not we're in the middle, and should we be in the middle even?
I saw in the middle as like in the eye of the storm. Like I'm standing in the middle of my living room and the kids are like doing their things all around.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of,
Oh.
I didn't feel like in the middle of 2 children or in the middle of an idea.
I sort of took it figuratively. Like I've had a hand in everything that the children have access to and the way I'm facilitating their possibilities, I guess. Like I set up the room or
She set the stage.
I set the stage. That's kind of how I'm part of everything in the classroom, but I don't have to be in control of everything in the classroom and I don't have to be running the show all the time.
I took it
If that
differently.
makes sense. Oh,
I
what
took
did you
it
think?
as you are in the middle. You are, matter of fact, the statement is you were always in the middle, but not in the way. So the implication to me was that you are still the initiator. You are still the person that provides the experience, but you just don't want to be in the way. To me, that is another cop-out.
Okay.
I believe that if you don't necessarily want to be in the middle, you want to be on the outside.
It's still about you. It's still about you.
I know. And children are in the middle.
Yeah. No, I know what I think I know what you're saying. What, Bethany? What?
Well, so my husband is a university professor and we often, I know, who cares? Literally no one.
Just
but
teasing
we
you.
often compare young children and college students and the care and keeping of children and college students and how it's similar. And when he has full reign of his courses, he sets them up where he is a learner in the course. So they're all diving into an investigation and like digging in deeper into a topic. And so he is in the middle of it because he's constantly acting as a learner. Like he's not going in there as like an expert. So I feel like that could be like, that's a way you could be literally in the middle of it without,
but not being in the way.
Being in the way.
I try and see it as like a sliding scale. So if you're used to doing worksheets, then moving to a craft is one step in the right direction.
Oh, okay.
And then moving from a craft to some, I don't know, free art is another step towards that direction. And Dan's step is like way over there. For some people, that's like too far of a reach.
Right.
So to just do that little step each time just shifts you and shifts your perspective so that you do have the ability to articulate it to other people so that you're not feeling powerless or desperate or unable to justify what you're doing.
What did you think it meant, Liz?
I feel like being in, sorry.
Nope.
I feel like being in the middle refers to that accessibility of relationship. I think that if you're on the side, you're not accessible emotionally. Yeah, I mean, physically, obviously you're probably still accessible, but if in the child's mind they're describing you as in the middle, right, there's still, it's not that you're calling the focus to yourself, it's that you're there when you're needed.
Okay.
Interesting.
I think we can all be right.
I would like to fight to the death,
but okay, I think I'm right.
There we go.
If that was too safe for you, I think Bethany and Emma and Liz and I are right.
Dan, I think Dan can be right in this.
I'm just teasing. I loved it,
that.
all of it, but
Yeah.
I can see that connection, and I feel like that's maybe a good place to wrap up this hour-long conversation we just had, even though we could probably keep going. So that was great. I knew that it was a good article, and I knew that with you guys, it was going to be a really fun conversation. So thank you all very much. And thanks to everyone who listened to us again. And everybody have a good night. Bye.
Bye.